Welcome back. Matt Makowka, Senior Research Services Librarian, back again to tell you about more library resources. In the previous video, we took a look at primary sources and how to find them using the library catalog and within a few selected databases. In this session, we're going to take a look at secondary sources and how to find them using selected databases in the study of history. After covering those, I'm going to round things off by exploring yet an additional two databases that combine both primary and secondary sources together. Now, before we jump into those resources, I would like to make a quick recap on what secondary sources are in contrast to primary sources. Secondary sources include, but are not limited to, historical accounts that fall long after the event occurred. In other words, historical accounts that were not present firsthand or were not eyewitness to the account. Memoirs and autobiographies that reflect on an event the author was not present for. A critical analysis of a work of literature that was written much later than the actual work. A critical analysis of a historical event written much later. In short, if it isn't an eyewitness or first-hand account, it is very likely a secondary source. If you need to revisit the characteristics that make up primary and secondary sources, please take a look at the class handout. Now, before we look at individual databases for secondary sources, I will briefly mention that the Discover search, that is, the default search that's on the library's homepage, can be used to find a wealth of secondary and primary sources. I will not be going over the Discover search in this video. For that, please revisit the video that's entitled The Library Catalog and Discover Searches for a refresher. I only want to add that if you are using Discover for your historical research, it's best to stick to the advanced search. And do not forget your limiters to filter your results after they come up. The limiters are key to finding the right type of literature and for narrowing within a large, unwieldy number of results. So with that said, we will now turn to the library databases. They are relatively easy to get to. From the library homepage, click on the Databases tab, which is the fourth down from the default Discover search on the left. So you'll just click this tab here, and then you'll see two different options underneath that. The first way to get to the history databases is you can go to the drop-down under Databases Arranged by Subject, and then go to the History, there we go, category, where you will see 37 databases recommended in this area. And then if I go back, the second way to access these databases that I mentioned is once again clicking on that fourth tab for databases. You can go into the alphabetical listing. So if you can't recall the subject category where you first found a database, or you want to jump straight to a specific one that you have in mind, you can always go to it alphabetically. You'll see that for all the databases, we have a staggering number of them, over 350. So we've arranged them by subject to help you narrow within the list and choose appropriately. Of course, you can always get in touch with the librarian if you want help selecting the right database. So here I am back at the History Databases page. And for researching secondary sources, we're going to take a look at three different databases. First, Historical Abstracts, then America, History and Life, and then one that combines those two databases along with others, the Historical Powersearch. As I demonstrate each of these databases, I'll show you how to get access to full text when it is not provided. Please note that not all databases that you encounter and search with will contain full text for all of their content. They will just reference articles and documents. And if that's the case, I will also demonstrate how to get access to full text in those situations. So, as I scroll down, the first database that we will look at is called Historical Abstracts. This database is ideal for world history. That is, it basically covers all countries except those in the Americas. So once you log in, it will take you default to the advanced search page. And then here we'll type in your various terms. So in this case, I'm going to revisit a topic that was covered in the previous video about Jon Snow and the cholera epidemic in London in the mid-19th century. So I'm going to put in his name, epidemic, and London. Notice that if you do need to add additional fields, you can use this plus sign on the side to add those. Also, down below, you have the option to filter for peer-reviewed journals only, various historical time periods, language and document type, and so on. I'm going to leave those untouched for now, and we'll do our search. Now, compared to the Discover search, I should expect to get fewer results back. There are a fewer number of journals being searched in this case. So I've gotten just 5 results here. So I just want to point out that, and then this is a mix of journal article references and book references, and they'll be indicated by a little symbol beside each of the results that you get. Now what I can do is tweak this search a little bit. Sometimes adding or removing words or changing them make all the difference. So if instead of epidemic, I put in cholera, and then hit enter. So now this has bumped it up to 7 results. Perhaps what's causing me problems here is by adding the geographic reference. So let's see what happens if I just removed London and then search. And now I'm getting 13 results. So just like you got with the Discover or Catalog search, you get a short list of results. And then what you're looking for is, if it says linked full text or PDF full text, you can simply click that link and that will pull up the text of that article. This one's taking a little while, so I'm going to go back to my results screen while that is loading. Now for some of the others, for example, this What's in a Game, a survey of digital game opportunities for medical historians, you can click on the title, and then again, this is just like with the Catalog and Discover, it will give you a more detailed record. In this case, they will also highlight in boldface your terms so you can see how it got matched. And then it will give you a brief abstract or summary of the article content. In this case, they actually do not have access to the full text like they did with our first article, The Gothic Origins of Global Health. In this case, this is an article, reference to an article in the Bulletin of the History of Medicine, and apparently they don't have the rights to the full text. Now, if that should happen, look for a small link, in this case it's highlighted in green, called Get It at UTD. Click on that, and what this will do is it will open another page and search for that article in our other collections. The thing to keep in mind with these third-party databases for your research is that they don't talk to each other. So if we have full text to an article through another service, that first database you're in may not know. And so that's what the Get It at UTD link does for you, is it will search against those other collections, and if we get a match, it will tell you available online in green on that next page, and then you just simply click the link, sign in if prompted, and then accept the cookies there. There is the article in full text. So much of the time, Get It at UTD will get it, but not always. So let's go back to our results list, and I will scroll down to another one of these. So here's one, A Family of Doctors Over 250 Years, Innovation and Controversy. This is in the Journal of Medical Biography. I'm going to click that link and get the full details, bibliographic details there. Now when I click Get It, it opens a page, and in this case it just says check for available services. So what is happening here is essentially we are not subscribed to this particular journal, or perhaps we are, but we don't have access to this particular date. So if you run into this, you can still get the article. What you need to do is look down below in the How to Get It area, and it says please sign in to check if there are any request options. So it will have me sign into my library account. And then what that will do is bring up a live link to Interlibrary Loan. Interlibrary Loan is your lifesaver. It expands what is on offer to you well beyond the boundaries of our library. So in this case, if we're not subscribed to a journal, sign in to bring up the Interlibrary Loan link. And if I follow that, if I'm not signed in before, it will have me sign in to Interlibrary Loan, and then it will fill out that form for me. So very convenient, it fills that all out, and then I can submit that request down at the bottom. Interlibrary Loan will then find a university that has access to that article and get an electronic copy to you in about 1 to 2 business days, all free of charge. So just depending on what topic you are researching within these databases, it may be an area that we don't collect a lot of journals in. So I notice here that a lot of these references are to the Journal of Medical Biography. So for each of those, I would need to request them through Interlibrary Loan. But as long as you know where to go, where to click and sign in, it's very easy to fill out that form and submit requests. Again, this is free of charge other than a very short wait time to get access to those articles. And I will just very quickly point out that if you ever need to see what you have requested through Interlibrary Loan and the status of each of those requests, if you are on our homepage, look to this right-hand column. Interlibrary Loan is linked there with a little orange eye. And from there, you can sign into your account, look at your pending requests. As articles come in, we will email you when they're ready to download, but you can also get them there, the Get Articles or Chapters. Now, Interlibrary Loan is not only for articles. We can get book chapters, sorry, not entire books, but if you just need a segment of a book, and we don't own it, or we only have it in paper and that is not available, you can actually request that a scan of that be sent to you. So whether it's in the database readily available as a full text link or not, one way or another, there is a way to get access to the full text. And before we leave this historical abstracts database, I will point out that just like with the catalog and the discovery search, once you get into the details area, that will give you everything you need to cite this. So we've got the article title, author, name of the publication, dates, page numbers, and so on. So I could piece that together by hand, or in this case, look over on the right hand side, there's a column that says Tools, and then there's a button that says Cite, a little yellow page icon. When I click on that, then it will bring up the citation formatted in various different styles. So it covers all the major ones there, including Chicago Turabian, APA, MLA, and so on. Now, just like with the catalog and discover searches, please be sure to double check the citation for accuracy there. And I will also point out that while they do include in some of these the DOI and link, so for example there's the APA reference that includes it, another place that you can go to look for the permanent link or stable link is once again under the tools at the bottom of that column, and then that gives you the permanent link there. So as you go and search these databases and play around with different ones, they are each going to look a little different from the other, but often they're going to give you all the details you need to cite the item properly in the detailed record. And then if you're lucky, a lot of them will also include a button to cite this or help with citation, that sort of thing, also including the permanent link. Now for our next database, I have jumped back over to the list of history databases. And don't worry, I will also, in addition to your handout, the link will be in the description of this video. And in this case, we're going to look at another database called America History and Life. Now you will see with America History and Life, that is going to look very similar to the historical abstracts, but in this case it's just zeroing in on the history of the Americas, US, Canada, Mexico, and so on. So in this case, kind of has the same features as the historical abstracts. Once again, if you scroll down, you'll notice that you have the ability to limit by year, historical era, publication type. If you want to limit to peer-reviewed or full-text results only, you can do that as well. I caution you though on that full-text limiter. It will exclude those things that aren't here in full text, but then when you click the Get It link, you'll see that we actually do have access. So it doesn't go that far and take that extra step. So I advise you not to click that, because things can be left out that we actually do have access to. And so, taking a cue from my last video, in America History, we're going to take a look at the whiskey ring scandal. So I'm just going to type in whiskey ring, keeping this very simple, and search. And I've got a listing of 8 results here. So just like with the historical abstracts, if the full text is available here, it's going to be obvious. There will be a full text link. And if it is not, like this re-examining the 19th century presidency and partisan press, in that case, I can click the Get It at UTD. And in this case, if we do have access, it will tell you so, available online, and then you can just follow the link to access it. Had this not given us the full text, don't forget that you can click from this point to sign into your account and have it fill in the interlibrary loan form for you. And once again, when you're looking at the detailed record, Remember that all the details are given to cite this particular document or article properly. But you also have, over on the right-hand side, under the Tools area, the Cite button. If you're using citation management software, the Export button can export out to Zotero, EndNote, ProCite, all those different types of tools. And then there's also a separate link for the permanent link. So again, this one essentially works the same way. It's just that it is searching a completely different set of books and articles. For our third and final database for searching strictly secondary sources, we're going to take a look at one called the History Powersearch. So once again, I'm going to go to the databases and just navigate to the History Databases page, and you'll see that it is actually highlighted there as the first one in the Best Bets area. When I go into this database, you will notice it looks awfully similar to the first two that we looked at, the Historical Abstracts and America History and Life. That is because this Powersearch is in the same family provided by the same provider, EBSCO. And what this Powersearch does, is it actually combines multiple databases together and allows you to search them all at once. So if I look at this Show All at the top, what this database is doing is combining America History and Life along with the Historical Abstracts, several government and humanities databases, combines them all together and allows you to search them all at once. So it's kind of sort of like a Discover search, except it's a bit narrower in focus. It does multiple databases at once. So this could be your sort of catch-all super history database. So just to contrast the search that we first did on the Historical Abstracts, I'm going to use the same search on Jon Snow, and let's do cholera and London. And I think we got something like, it was under 10 results, about 5 to 7 results tops. And then we'll search here. And before I send that off, again, you've got your set of limiters and filters that you can apply for each of the individual databases that make up this Powersearch, if you want to set those down below. And now I'll search. And in this case, I've gotten 11 results, so it's a little bit greater than what I had before. So it is adding some content that I was not getting before. This will work just like those other two databases. If there's full text, it will be obvious and plainly listed. If not, then click on the Get It at UTD link. Follow that over. If, like in this case, it's one we don't have, request it through interlibrary loan. Otherwise, if we do have it, it will say available online and give you a live link to the full text. And once again, you can click on your title for all the details on that particular document, and then you can cite it, get the permanent link there in the detailed record. So I will say no more about this other than this is kind of a conglomerate database of history-related databases. So if you're not sure what area, if you don't want to limit just to Historical Abstracts or America History and Life, you can use this one as sort of your catch-all database. Now next, I want to go into a couple of databases that cover both primary and secondary sources. So back on the listing for the history databases, there's one called JSTOR, and I'm going to scroll down to the J's for that one. And this one combines academic texts, popular literature, popular non-scholarly literature, as well as books both primary and secondary sources, and it is multi-subject. So it covers the humanities, arts, social sciences, even the hard sciences as well. What's neat about JSTOR is that, and let me go ahead and click and go into that one. Is that it has what's called a moving wall of content. So for the most part, it's an archive, and it has back issues, unbroken access to back issues of journals, but then that moving wall is usually the journal is still published, that moving wall is the latest 3 to 5 years of publications will not be included. But anything prior to that will be unbroken. When you're talking about researching philosophy or literature or history, you don't always need the latest articles out there. So JSTOR will usually not include those. I think there's a handful of journals it does, but for the most part, it is for older content. But it is a wonderful multi-subject database full of full text. So here I am on their landing page, and just like we've done with the other databases, I'm going to go into the advanced search. All right, and we're going to stick with our same old topic, Jon Snow. Let's do cholera, and notice here there's a button to add additional search boxes if you need them. And let's do London. And then down below, notice that you've got filters that you can apply. So if you want articles or books only, then you can limit just to those. Reviews will be book reviews. So if you are trying to avoid those, then to keep that unchecked. You've also got language filters and limiting by date range. I'm not going to apply any of those in this case. We're just going to go in with a straightforward search. Okay. And in this case, I've got over 3,400 results. They are ranked by relevance. If I wanted to re-rank these by newest first, I can do that, or oldest first. So since they're by relevance, then you'll see that the dates are jumping all over the place. A 1958 article, then 2009, then 1961, and so on. So they will be clearly marked with what type of literature they are. So this is sort of like the catalog and discover search. Journal articles are marked there. Book chapters and so on will be indicated as well. Now, I do want to point out, since this is a mixed source database, look over to your left to the Refine Results area. So you've got two headers here. One says Academic Content. So this will be for just your secondary literature. So just check those off, and then it will remove the primary sources. Now I'm going to remove those filters, clear all, to reset it. And underneath that is one for primary source content. So if you're just looking for primary source content here, then apply those filters instead. So it's very easy and straightforward to divide your content into the secondary sources and the primary sources. And then you'll notice sort of a pattern here, as we had with the other databases, that if you click on the title, then that will give you access to the full text there. Now to download that entire document, I would just go to the download PDF, accept, and then here's this full 66-page report by John Little, report of the epidemic of cholera in 1866. They even have this little drop down with, you may find content on these other topics, and it's leading you to other related topics. I'm going to hide that for now, though. And then while you're in the detailed record, notice that there is the Cite This Item. Click on that, and it gives you your citation formatted in MLA, APA, and Chicago styles. That does include the permanent link in there. However, I will caution you. And it will also give you links to exporting your citation out to a citation manager if you need to do that. But back here, the URL with the proxy is actually the best permanent link to go with, because that way, if you're using this particular document, want to give it to somebody and have it work for them off campus, then that will lead them properly to the NetID credential sign-in. And if I go back to my results, you'll also see here in the short display, there's also beside the underneath the link for downloading the PDF, there's the Cite This Item. So that's another way to get citation help. So JSTOR, pretty straightforward and easy to use. Again, I would urge you to use the advanced search so you can put in multiple terms there. And then once your results come up, even if you didn't apply filters to begin with, it's very easy to divide those up into secondary sources and primary sources as you need them. And now I have returned once again back to the History Databases page, and the final database that I will demonstrate today is one called the Periodicals Archive Online, or PAO. So if I scroll down to the P area, there we have it, PAO. And this is similar to the JSTOR database, though it covers different subject areas and different journals. But this is an archive of both secondary and primary sources. And once again, once you get into that, we will go to the advanced search. And once again, sticking to our same topic, I will look for items on Jon Snow, cholera. Once again, if I've run out of blanks, I can always add a row. Let's add London. Once again, within the advanced search, I do have the options to limit by document type and language. I can even set the publication date to. If I want just peer-reviewed items back, I can do that as well. In this case, I'm not going to touch it. We're just going to do a straightforward search. Okay, and in this case, I get 548 results, so not quite as many as JSTOR, but they should be different publications. Once again, in this case, it is sorting by relevance, so the dates will jump all over the place. We've got 1961, 1946, 1959, and so on. And this will give us, if I go to the limit to area on the left-hand side, this is the same as the refine my results in Discover or limiters in other databases. And down below, in the source type area, the scholarly journals and magazines will be your secondary source literature, and the historical periodicals will be your primary sources. So if I wanted just the scholarly journals, the analysis and criticism, I can filter for those. And once again, click on a title to get access to the full record there. And notice that this, as a ProQuest product, like the Gale primary sources, will highlight the terms throughout so we can see how it got matched. So that will show in the initial display. If I go to full text PDF, then that brings up here the full document, and then I could download that. And then over on the right-hand side, beside the print and download PDF options, there, don't forget the Cite button. Click that, and you can change to the style that you need. So let's say we wanted Chicago 17th latest edition, author date. Then it will reformat that for me, and it will include the proxied permalink within the citation. And I will go back to my results and remove that filter. So if I wanted just the primary sources, I would go to the historical periodicals, and there's not quite as many of those, and then it will list those. So lots of stuff from the 19th century here. Going back to the full listing, you have other options for sorting and filtering your results. So it will give you this bar graph telling you how many records are associated with each decade. Document type, I can limit that way too. If I were looking just for articles or book reviews, then I can filter for those. Language, and so on. So fairly straightforward on how to use that one. Just like JSTOR and the others, click any of the titles to get into the full text, and use your Cite button to get citation help. So pretty darn easy to use. So to recap, we briefly covered what secondary sources are and how to find them with 3 different databases: the Historical Abstracts, America History and Life, and the History Powersearch, which combines the first 2 databases along with others in related fields and allows you to search them all at once. We covered how to access full text when the database doesn't provide it, that is, via the Get It link, and when Get It doesn't get it. We looked at how you can get access to the full text through interlibrary loan. After that, we looked at our mixed source databases, or those databases that include both primary and secondary sources. In this case, JSTOR and the Periodicals archive online. Remember to look for the limiters on the left side of the page after your results appear in each of these databases in order to filter and limit to secondary sources or primary sources. Don't forget that if you need to revisit these databases, the library catalog, or the Discover search in more detail, please refer to the class handout or rewatch these videos. You are also welcome to get in touch with me as needed. My contact information is linked below in the description. Happy researching, and have a good day.